In yesterday's shir of Tanya, in Perek Mem Beis, in chapter 52, the Alter Rebbe explains the various levels of the Shekhinah and how it comes down from level to level until it reaches this world. In order to explain how it is that in the Holy of Holies, in the Kodesh HaKadoshim, there is a greater presence of Shekhinah than in the rest of the world. So the Rebbe explains that Shekhinah is not the same as God Himself. Shekhinah is an aspect of godliness that is connected and that is somehow predisposed to creation. In its earliest stage, the Shekhinah is a reference to Malchus of Atzilus. Malchus of Atzilus is the beginning of the revelation of godliness into the world, because Malchus is what feeds into the lower world, just as in the physical, a king has to be involved with people. He can't be by himself. In the same way, all the other attributes, beginning with Chachma, are all for the person himself, whereas Malchus is necessarily an external thing. It involves the person with someone outside himself. In the same way, when we say that Malchus is Shekhinah, it's because Malchus is external, and Shekhinah means the indwelling, godliness as it's involved in the creation or predisposed to creation. And therefore, the first stage of the Shekhinah is in Malchus d'Atzilus, which is also called speech, because Malchus is related to speech, and speech too is the externalization of what a person is feeling and thinking. Where does the Shekhinah rest? So the Alter Rebbe says that the Shekhinah reveals itself in the lower world, in the Chabad of the lower world, and that is the Holy of Holies of each world, just as it was here on earth, that the Kodesh HaKadoshim was the place where the Aron was kept, and in the Aron there were the Luchos, and Luchos are the essence of Torah. In the same way, in each world, the Holy of Holies is the Torah on that level, or the Chabad of that level. When we say Chabad of Atzilus or of Bria and so on, we're talking about the divine Chochmah, Bina, and Das. God's Chochmah, God's Bina, and God's Das of that world. And what is God's Chochmah, Bina, and Das? That's Torah. So Torah, as it comes, as it expresses itself in each of the worlds, is the Chochmah of that world, the Chabad of that world. And so the Shekhinah, Malchus of Atzilus, clothes itself in the Chabad of the lower world, and that becomes the origin and the source of life for that lower world. The actual creation of the beings of the lower world, for example, the Neshamas and the angels of the world of Bria, that comes about when the Shekhinah clothes itself not only in the Chabad of that world, which is only a source of life for the lower world, but when it clothes itself also in the Malchus of the lower world. So that when the Malchus of Atzilus clothes itself in Chabad of Bria, and then the Chabad of Bria, which is the Torah of Bria, comes down into the Malchus of Bria, that's when the creations, the angels and the Neshamas of Bria come into existence. From there, it goes down further into the next world, the world of Yetzirah, and there it becomes the Chabad of it. It dresses itself in the Chabad of Yetzirah, becoming the source of life for Yetzirah. The creation of the creatures of Yetzirah come about when the Chabad and the Shekhinah of the world of Yetzirah is clothed in the Malchus of the world of Yetzirah, and so on down through the worlds. Now in Perek Nun Gimel, the Alter Rebbe goes on to explain how it is in the physical world. Perek Nun Gimel. V'hinei kishoyo bayis yishin kayom. Now when the Beis HaMikdash, the first Beis HaMikdash, was stood Sheboi hoya ha'orim v'haluches. The Beis Kodesh HaKadoshim, and what was unique about the first Beis HaMikdash, which didn't exist in the second Beis HaMikdash, was that in the first Beis HaMikdash, the Orim and the Luches were present in the Kodesh HaKadoshim, in the Holy of Holies. There, Hoy Sa HaShchina Shehi Malchus Da'atzilus. There, the Shchina, which is Malchus Da'atzilus, Shehi Bechinas Gili Eirein Sev Baruch Hu. Why is Malchus Da'atzilus called Shchina? Because Malchus is the beginning of the revelation of godliness into creation. So in the Holy of Holies of the first Beis HaMikdash, the Shechina was Sheidah Sham, it rested there, Umelubeshes, and it was clothed, Ba'aseres HaDibreis, in the Ten Commandments, B'yeser Seis V'yeser Oz, with greater measure and greater strength, B'gilui Zav V'otzum Yeser, with a greater revelation and a stronger revelation, Nigiluya Behecholes Kedesh Kadoshim Shalamayla Be'elunas Elyenim. The Shechina, as it was revealed in the Ten Commandments, which was in the Holy of Holies of the first Beis HaMikdash, was a greater and higher revelation than the Shechina in the higher worlds. Ki Aseres HaDibreis Hein Klolus HaTorah Kula. Because the Aseres HaDibreis is the essence of Torah. The Nafka Migei Chachma Ilo, and Torah comes from Chachma Da'atzilus. Not from Malchus Da'atzilus, but from Chachma Da'atzilus. The Le'ela Mi'alma Deizgalya, which Chachma Ilo, Chachma is higher and much higher than the revealed world being, again, a reference to Malchus Da'atzilus, which is the beginning of revelation. So the Shechina that was present in the Beis HaMikdash, in the first Beis HaMikdash, was much higher than the Shechina that is present in the world of Bria. Because in the world of Bria, the Shechina is an expression of the Malchus Da'atzilus, the lowest level of Atzilus, which becomes the source of life and the source of existence for the world of Bria. So the world of Bria, the Shechina that it receives, is an expression of Malchus, a revelation of Malchus Da'atzilus. Whereas the Shechina that was present in the Aseres HaDibros in Torah, which was present in the Kodesh HaKadoshim, this was an expression and a revelation of Chachma Da'atzilus. And the reason it is called Shechina is because it was the Chachma Da'atzilus was revealed through the Malchus of Atzilus. But what was dominant was the Chachma and not the Malchus. Whereas in the higher world, in the world of Bria, that which is revealed to Bria is Malchus Da'atzilus, where Malchus is dominant. And so the Shechina in the Beis HaMikdash was much higher than the Shechina in the higher worlds, including the world of Bria. Okay, and then this Torah, this Shechina, that had to express itself in the physical engraved words on the stone of the Ten Commandments, which means that in order for Torah to come down into the physical, here also there was an advantage to the way Torah was revealed into the physical over the way that the Torah is revealed, or that the Shechina is revealed in the higher worlds. Because here, lo yoda mi madrega lemadrega kederech hishtalshelus ha'elamis. It didn't come down through the various levels, from level to level, in the same way that the chain of worlds comes down, ad elam haza hagashmi. And the worlds and the chain of events that lead to this physical world was different from the way that the Torah comes down into this world. Because this physical world is governed by the properties of the physical nature. But the luches, we see, were not governed by those laws because they were ma'aseh elikim heimo v'hamichtav michtav elikimhu. We're told about the luches that the that they were created by God Himself, and that the writing was a writing of God, a divine writing, which means that there was an interference of nature. This is above nature and was not governed by the properties and by the limitations of nature. So we see that unlike the other chain of worlds, where the Shekhinah comes down from level to level until it comes into the physical world, but where with the Torah, it didn't come into the physical world. It wasn't clothed in the rules and properties of the physical world. And why is that? Because the physical condition and the nature of the physical world comes from the nature of the world of Asiya. Let's read it in the text. The luches were created through divine act higher than and above the limitations of nature of this world, of the physical. And the physical nature is nishba me'ha'aretz hashchina shebeheichel kedesh kadoshim da'asiyo. The physical properties derive from the Shekhinah, from the ray of the Shekhinah that exists in the Kedesh HaKadoshim of Asiya, of the world of Asiya. From the Chabad of Asiya, that's where the laws of nature originate. Shemimena nimshach v'chayis le'elam ha'asiya. And it is from there, as we said earlier in the previous page, that from the Chabad of each world comes the life for that world. So mimena nimshach v'chayis le'elam ha'asiya. From the Chabad of Asiya comes the life and the light for the world of Asiya. Shegam elam hazeh b'chlolei, and this world, the physical Asiya, is included in that source of life. Elo, how then does the Shekhinah reveal itself into the physical? In Torah, Elo b'chinas chochma ilo d'atzilus, shehi klolos ha'Torah, shebiyud hadibreis, the chochma of Atzilus, which is what Torah is all about, because Torah is chochma. And this is expressed in the Aseres HaDibris, in the commandments themselves, which is higher than the Shekhinah of the world of Bria, but it is nislapsha. How does it come down into the physical? To be engraved in physical letters on a physical stone, it comes down not through all the worlds, by being clothed in the malchus of each world, but rather it is nislapsha b'malchus d'Atzilus et Bria levadon. It is clothed only in the malchus of Atzilus and Bria, but not in the malchus of Yetzirah and Asiya. And that's why it was not governed by the laws of the physical, because the physical laws, the laws of nature, come from the Chabad of Asiya, and here we see that the luches were not limited and did not follow the properties of the physical world. They were miraculous. So we see that in Torah, as it is here in the physical world, there are two advantages over Torah as it appears in the higher worlds. One is in the level of Torah itself, in the level of the Shekhinah itself, where in the higher worlds it is all a derivative of Malchus d'Atzilus, whereas in Torah, as it is here on earth, it was an expression of Chochmah d'Atzilus. And secondly, in the way that the Torah develops, or the Shekhinah develops in through the chain of worlds, usually the chain of worlds includes going from Malchus d'Atzilus to Malchus d'Bria to Malchus d'Yetzirah to Malchus d'Asiya, and then a physical creation comes about. Whereas with Torah, even the way that it evolves is that in its evolvement it skips the Malchus of Yetzirah and the Malchus of Asiya, and that's why it is above nature. So it is basically an expression of Malchus d'Bria directly, but not the Malchus of Yetzirah. And that's in its development. In its essence, it is an expression of Chochmah d'Atzilus. Now, the Malchus of Atzilus and Bria, through which Torah does come, so the Alter Rebbe says, V'hein levadon, and they alone, hamichodes v'erein seif shebeteichon, Hein hanikroit b'shem Shechina asher b'kedesh hakadoshim b'bayis rishon. It is only the Malchus of Atzilus and the Malchus of Bria concerning which we say that they are united and at one with God Himself, and it is only that which is called the Shechina when we're referring to what rests in the Kedesh HaKadoshim of the first Beis HaMikdash. So what did we have? What was the Shechina present in the Holy of Holies of the first Beis HaMikdash? It was basically Chochma Da'atzilus as it expresses itself into this world through the Chochma, Malchus, the Bria directly. And then they hislapshus sabiyud hadibris achkukes beluche shebaorim b'nes u'maisa likim chayim. So we find that the Shechina reveals itself by being clothed in the two parts of the luches, the spiritual part and the physical part. The spiritual part, of course, are the commandments themselves, the yudibris. And that, as we said earlier, is an expression of Chochma Datzilus. And then also, as it is engraved in the physical stones, miraculously, and it is described as Maaseh Elikim Chayim, that shows us that in its development and in its evolving, it evolves directly from Malchus Debriya, skipping the worlds of Yitzira and Asiya. What is Elikim Chayim? Elikim is one level of godliness. Elikim Chayim is a higher level of godliness. And as it says in other places in Chassidus, that Elikim Chayim is a reference to Bina. And the Alter Rebbe says in the brackets, Hu alma diskasya hamekanin be'elam habriya k'neida liyedechem. As is known to those who study Kabbalah, that what is it that is mekanin be'elam habriya, what is revealed in the world of Bria? It is the attribute of Bina. And that's called the concealed world. Malchus is the revealed world. Bina is the concealed world. And Bina is what is revealed in the world of Bria. And Elikim Chayim is a reference to the level of Bina. And so when we describe the Luchos as being Maaseh Elikim Chayim, the creation of the living God, of Elikim Chayim, we're saying that the Luchos, even the physical part of it, the Maaseh of it, comes from the world of Bria, in which Elikim Chayim is revealed, Elikim Chayim being Bina, and Bina is revealed in the world of Bria. So we see that, number one, the Luchos were made miraculously, the letters hung in the air miraculously, the Mem and the Samach, and also it was Maaseh Elikim Chayim. The fact that it was miraculous tells us that it was higher than the world of Asiya, from which the laws of nature are derived. And the fact that it's called Maaseh Elikim tells us that it is also higher than the world of Yitzira, and that its origin is from the world of Bria, Elikim Chayim. In today's Hayom Yom, for the first day of Sivan, and the 45th day of the Eimer, the Rebbe writes that there's a statement that says, that when you throw a stick up into the air, a branch into the air, it will fall down, it'll land on its heavier part, which is the root, the part where the roots are. It will return to its root. So the Rebbe says that concerning Chassidus, the Rebbes of all the generations gave us an inheritance that is endless and without limit. And this was given to the early Hasidim, that their grandchildren, the children of their sons and the children of their daughters for all generations, in whatever country they may be, and in whatever surroundings they may be, they should have this root, or this ikar, on which they always land. The who, and that is the inner yearning of the heart that draws them back to the place from which they were created, to their source, to Hasidus. And at times, this root is covered and concealed in many garments, and therefore, the Aveda, for anyone who wants true life, is to remove these concealments by establishing for himself set times to learn Hasidus and to conduct himself the way a Chassid is supposed to.